Mm-hmm.
So right at the beginning, obviously, when you come to the learning management system, you'll have the ability to either log in if you have an account already created, or to create a new account if you haven't been before. And creating an account is a pretty simple process. You'll supply your first name, last name, email address, and then pick a password and type it in twice. And then you'll hit the Verify My Email Address button. And like most systems on the internet these days, this will cause the system to send you an email to the account that you supplied that will contain a link that you'll need to click on to come back to the system. But let's verify that you are the owner of the email address that you've supplied. Once you come back to the system after clicking on that link, it's going to ask you for that password again, and that's so that if somebody were to intercept that email, they wouldn't be able to kind of hijack your account. So it's just a couple of factors of authentication for us to verify that we can get email to you, that you can receive it, and that you're the owner of that account. And once you've created that account, you can come back to the system and use that to log in. So I'll do that here with my account. And once you've logged in, it'll drop you into the system, and you'll notice you get a lot more options on the menu, and it knows who you are, and things actually start to happen. On the home page here, there's just, this kind of marketing and notification kind of things will show up here. So we'll have graphics talking about what's going on. We'll highlight a particular course of training or things of that nature. If there's any news that we need you to know about, for example, additional features that we've added or things of that nature, then we can put those over here. And then if there's anything that you need to take action upon, you'll see that in this little overview section over here. So, for example, I have an invitation waiting for me to act upon. And also up here on the invitations menu, you see I have a little badge also alerting me that I have something to go take a look at, very similar to when you receive a new email message or things of that nature. The system's kind of built around a shopping cart metaphor. So just like you would go to Amazon and you'd put books and stuff in your shopping cart and then you go check out, the purchasing training is very similar. You would go to the catalog, select a particular course of training that you want. So I can go in here and I can look at AEM's training, and we'll get an overview of who AEM is, and then we'll see the program. So we have REACH, Executive Awareness, the Manager's Training track, the Technical Manager's Training track, Conflict Minerals down here. And then they also have a couple of programs that are extensions of the online training. We talk about CDX, which is the data exchange platform that AEM is helping foster into the marketplace to allow people to exchange data regarding these regulated substances and whatnot. And then we have a program of regulated substances brief over here, and you can click on these to get more information and to learn how you can participate in those programs. But those aren't training per se; they're just information of other areas of this system. If I go into a particular course or program, for example, the Manager's Training, I can see all of the modules that comprise that training. So in the Manager's training area, there's actually 7 modules that you would take as a part of this course of work. And if you go into course details, I can get more information about that specific training module. I can see what other modules are related, if there are any prerequisites for this particular module that you have to take before you can take this one, and so on and so forth. If I think this is the correct course of training for me, then I can add that to my cart by clicking on the Add to Cart button. And you'll notice that all 7 modules will go into your cart. And I can click here to check out, or I can click on my shopping cart icon in the upper menu bar up here at the very top. This will take me over to my shopping cart screen, just like on Amazon or any other e-commerce site. I'll see the things that are listed, what the pricing is. I have the ability to remove things from my cart. I can continue shopping if there's other courseware that I want to buy. I can empty my cart. But when I'm ready to proceed and actually acquire the training so that I can take it, I have a few different options here. Inside the system, each user can be one of three different roles or wear one of three different hats. They can either be a learner, which means they're just there to take the training. You can be a training manager, which means you're responsible for acquiring and managing other people's training. Or you can be the account owner, which means you're responsible for the billing for that account and more of the administrative side. You can have multiple training managers inside the organization, and you can divide people up into departments so that training managers have the ability to manage a subset of all the learners inside your organization. Because I'm a training manager in this particular case, I have the ability to either purchase these courses that I've placed in my cart for myself, or I can purchase or invite other people to take them instead. So the difference between inviting somebody to take a course and enrolling somebody in the course really comes down to when does the billing transaction happen. If I people in a course or a set of courses, then I'm paying for those courses right then, and those courses are automatically placed on those users' accounts, and when they come to the system, they'll be sitting there waiting for them to take. They won't have to find the courses or do any kind of purchase transaction or anything like that. They're ready to go. On the other hand, if I invite learners to take those courses, then what will happen is the system will send them an invitation via email that will invite them to come back to the system and accept the invitation to take those courses. And when they accept that invitation, that's when the course will actually be placed on their account, and you'll be billed for the course to happen at that point. And so it's just two different ways to achieve the same end result. One puts one's kind of the stick and one's kind of the carrot. So you can either invite people to take the course and they accept it, or you can enroll them in it and then they just go take it. Either way works just fine. If I click on Enroll Learners here and hit Proceed, it's going to show me a list of the learners inside my organization that I'm responsible for. And if there are any exceptions to what's going on, it'll go ahead and tell me that at this point. And so I've got mocked up here a couple of illustrations of what it might show you. In the case of myself, it says this is you. I'm already enrolled in 3 of these modules. So the system is not going to let me enroll in modules that I'm already enrolled in. In the case of this other clone of myself, a different email address, and so it's a different person, you can see here that I'm enrolled in some of the modules, but I've been invited to other modules. So if you've been invited, I can still enroll them and just kind of override that invitation. But again, it's not going to let me enroll somebody in a course twice. So really what this is telling me is if you proceed here, the ones that they're already enrolled for, we're just going to ignore the request to enroll them again, and we're just going to enroll them in the modules that they haven't been previously enrolled in. And then lastly, down at the bottom, I have a John Smith here who has no exceptions. He's open for all the courses. I can either select the checkbox up here at the top to grab everybody, or I can be specific about who I want to enroll in these courses. And then I can proceed from here. And then on this confirmation screen, it's letting me know what's exactly going to happen. And in this case, I only selected John Smith. He's going to enroll in all 7 of the modules. This is going to be my total. It totals it up down here at the bottom. And then I have an option here to send an email to these enrollees if I want. If I'm going to notify them in some other way, if I'm sitting at John's desk or I stand up and holler at him over the cube wall, I can turn that off if I don't want to send the email. But typically you would want the email to go to that person to let them know they've been enrolled and it's ready for them to come take the courseware. And then lastly, down here, there's a checkbox you have to check to acknowledge that you're going to be billed for these. And it will use the billing information that's on file for the organization that the account owner set up as the method of billing. Typically, that would be a credit card that's kept on file. But if you've made arrangements with us beforehand, we can put you on net 30 terms, and then those would be gathered up and invoiced monthly as a part of the billing process. So all I have to do is check that box and hit Enroll Learners, and then that person would be enrolled in all of these courses. Once somebody is enrolled in a course, they go to their My Courses tab once they log in, and this will show all of the courses that they have on their account that they're registered for and can take. On each one of these, you'll see the date that they were registered into that course, the current status of completion on that particular module or course, and then the actions that they can take. So I've got an example here of all the different things that can happen. In the case of executive awareness, that was completed, and I can retake that course if I want. Once you've enrolled for a course, the course remains on your account forever, and you can retake it as often as you would like if you want to revisit the material or refresh your memory on some aspect of it. In the case of the conflict minerals program here, I haven't started that, so I can start that course. In this particular module, I'm in an incomplete status. When you take a course, you can stop and start it at any time. If you're interrupted or you don't have time to complete it at that one sitting, you can simply close it out, and it'll remember where you were inside that course, and you can come back later and hit the Continue Course button, and that'll pick back up where you left off and continue on. Optionally, if it's been too long since you started it and you want to just start that module over, you can restart from the beginning by clicking the Restart Course link right here. In the case of Module 3, because I haven't completed Module 2, I haven't met the prerequisites, so I can't do anything with that course yet. And then lastly down here is Module 1 that I've completed, very similar to Executive Awareness. If you want, you can click on the History button, and this will show you the history of what you've done, how many times you've launched the course, if you've restarted it, what your scores were, any time that you've gone through it, what your ultimate result was, so on and so forth. And obviously, I breezed through this one really quickly. It only took me 20 seconds to get 100%, and that's because I just jumped to the end. Most of the courses are set so that you can't jump ahead like that, but I needed to get an example in here, and so that's that. Once you complete your courseware, completed courses will move over to what we call your briefcase, and this is kind of your transcript of your completed or successfully earned certifications in the learning process. So in this particular case, there's 2 modules that I've completed. And I have just like I had on my courses page, if I want to, I can retake those courses from here. And then once you complete a program of study, for example, the entire REACH program, all 7 modules, then you'll obtain a certification credential for that particular module. And those will show up here at the top as little certificates, and you can actually you'll be able to click on that and download a PDF that you can print out, hang on your wall, give to your manager, whatever you want to do with that. But the important piece of that, as it relates to this regulatory training, is that completion status will feed into the CDX data exchange platform as a credential inside that system. And that, based on the arrangement that AEM has set up with HP, will lead to discounts on the use of that system, as well as certifying or credentializing that user inside that system that they've taken the training and that the data that they're entering into that system has a higher chance of being correct, if you will. So it's a credential that will follow you into the CDX platform, making it a more valuable system inside when you're exchanging data with your supply chain. As I spoke about earlier, the kind of the core of the system, or what makes this learning management system a little unique in the industry, is the fact that you can have this network of companies connected together in a supply chain arrangement. And that entire process happens via the invitation system. So very similar to social networking applications that you're used to, Facebook or LinkedIn or things of that nature, you can invite people to join with your organization in a couple of different ways, and that act of sending an invitation and having them accept is what creates those linkages. So the different things you can do is I can invite a employee or a learner inside of my organization to join my company and be inside of my organization. I can invite a learner to take particular courseware just by doing what I showed you earlier with the shopping cart, going through that process and sending the invites out. Or I can invite another company to connect with my company in a supply chain relationship. And what that will do is set up your network so that you can aggregate completion data or completion statistics from other companies in your supply chain taking this courseware and see the progress and penetration of that courseware throughout your supply chain. So you can see the effectiveness of people that are supplying you being trained for this particular set of issues. In the Invitations tab up here, we're sent to a page that shows me a number of different things, and right off the bat, it shows me any invitations that are pending my acceptance or action. And so in this particular case, I've received a company invite from Sally's OEM, and it's saying they're inviting me to connect with them as a part of their supply chain network. And I can hit the accept invitation button, and that will connect me to Sally's OEM and allow me to start reporting my scores up to Sally's OEM. And so they'll see that my scores start showing up on their reports. Now, this can happen in the opposite direction. If a supplier wants to report their information up to an OEM or up the supply chain, instead of waiting to be invited, they can actually send a request up the supply chain to an OEM. So if I'm a Tier 1 supplier to an OEM, I can send a request up to create that relationship in the reverse way. So I go to Sent Request. I can see any requests that I have sent, and I can send a new request by clicking on this button here. So that relationship inside the supply chain can be created from either direction. If I want to invite people to join my company, I can invite an employee here. And this is a very simple form. We have an email address to send the invitation to. We select what role we want this user or this person to act in my company. They can be a learner, they can be a training manager, or I can invite them to manage the account. I put their first and last name in. I have the ability to include a personalized message if I want to add something to the standard email that they're going to receive. You know, hey, Bob, this is the thing we were talking about on the phone the other day. I can put something like that in. And then I have the ability to tag individuals, and I'll show you how tagging works when we get over to reports. But basically, this allows me to group different types of users together so that I can narrow down my reports and do some sorting and sifting when I want to report. So I might use, engineering as a potential tag that I would put in there if I'm sending invites to my engineering staff, or if I'm doing sales, I could do that as well. And these are completely free form. You can make up whatever tags you want to use in your own taxonomy, whatever makes sense inside the culture of your organization. Lastly, when I send this invitation out, by default, the system is going to send me an email back whenever that person accepts my invite. So if I want to be notified when they've accepted the invitation that I sent, I can leave this set to yes. If I'm concerned that that's going to generate a lot more traffic than I want, then I can say no. So this is a way to get employees in one at a time. That might be a little troublesome if you have a lot of employees that you want to get started on the system. So up here at the top, I have this statement. If you want to send an invite to a large number of individuals, you can click here. And this will take you to a variant of this screen that allows me to enter the email address and first and last name of as many people as I want to send them all at one time. So I can, however is most convenient for me, I can get this information in. It just has to be in this format, email address, comma, first name, comma, last name. And if it's more convenient for this to come out of a spreadsheet, I've actually included a sample spreadsheet that you can download. And when you pull that up in your Excel, it basically will show you or give you a template for you to fill out. So I can type in their email address, first name and last name, and fill this table out. I can cut and paste that from any application. If I want to pull it out of my company directory or pull it out of my name and address book for my email program, whatever makes sense. And once I have that information entered, all I have to do is highlight those names, copy it, and come back over and paste it into this field. And the system will paste it in the right way and figure out what all the pieces are. Again, I select what role I want them to have. Notice you can't select owner on here because you're not going to invite owners in bulk. Those would be one at a time. I can include a personalized message if I want to add any additional information to the email that they're going to get. And then I can tag these people all the same way if I want to, which makes sense here. If I'm inviting an entire department in, I can tag them all at one time the same way. And then I send those invitations, and they'll go out, and people will accept them and become a part of your organization. So this gets learners into your system in order for them to take the training. But if you want to connect other companies to your company so you can see their progress, that's what the Invite Company tab is for. It's a very similar process. We have an additional blank for company. I have a relationship field right now. The only selection is supply chain, but we're going to allow you in the near future to augment this if you want to put in distributor or dealer or some other type of relationship that will just let you further segregate or classify the types of companies that you want to bring into this. First name, last name. You have the ability, if we've set one up for you, to select a special landing page. Let me show you what that would look like. If I come up here and I go to this, instead of just landing them on the login page where they create their account, the link that would be included in their email is a message from John at AEM that talks about the REACH program and conflict minerals and what this training does and why it's important. And then it provides a link for them to go to create their account and accept the invitation. So this is a better way, we think, to get new companies into the system and kind of educate them before they're just dropped on a page that they don't really know what to do with. And we can create these types of messages specific to your organization. So if you want to have a campaign to get your suppliers in and you want to create a branded message here that strengthens your commitment to this program and what you're wanting to do and explains that to your suppliers, we can create these pages to be a part of your invitation process. You, again, can include an additional special message inside that email. You have the ability to supply an ID or an account number for these companies. So if you have a number for a particular supplier that is how you recognize them inside your organization, you can provide that here, and it will show up on reports that you run. Again, you have the ability to tag these organizations so you can group them together. And lastly, you can say whether or not you want to be notified when they accept, and you can send the invitation. So this screen is for sending a single invite to a single company. But again, if you want to do a bunch at one time, you can click on the special link here. And this will give you another batch kind of form, very similar to inviting a number of individuals. You can invite a number of companies here. I have a sample spreadsheet you can download. You fill it out, cut and paste the data into this field, go to the next step, and send the invites. Everything else is pretty much the same. You pick your landing page, you include a message and tags, tell it whether or not you want to notify them when they accept. The only difference really here is when I hit next step, it's going to take me to a page that summarizes who all the emails are going to go out to and gives me a chance to modify their information because we're asking for a little bit more on each one. It's kind of a last check before it goes, and then you'll send the invitations out all at once. Once you've sent invitations either to have employees join your organization, to have them take courses, or to invite other companies to connect with your organization, you can go to the Sent Invitations tab and see the progress of those invites that have been sent out. On this page, I show you the last 5 of each type of invite that you sent, but you can click on the All buttons right here to see the entire list if you have a whole bunch of invitations that are in flight, if you will. And you'll notice that it gives you additional information here about the invites that have been sent, when the email or when the invitation was created, when it was last sent, and what the status of that email is. In this particular case, this email was sent on February 22nd. It's been delivered, and it's been opened. So you can see if it's actually made it to the user, if they've opened it, and if they've clicked on the link inside of it. So you get a little bit of telemetry, if you will, about whether or not your invites are being looked at. If for some reason the invite was misplaced or they couldn't find it, you could always click resend and it'll send another copy to them, and you can do that as many times as necessary. Once they accept the invite, it'll fall off of this screen, and if you told it to notify you, you'll get an email back saying that they've accepted. Same kind of goes for courses that I've invited my learners to take, or invitations of people to join my organization. I don't currently have any of those. So that's kind of how the invitation system works. Again, you send invites out, they accept them, and then they become, those people become connected to your organization either as employees or as members of other companies that are connected to your organization. Lastly, let's go look at the Reports tab. There's a number of different things here, and we're going to be adding additional reports and way to pull data back out of the system as time goes on. Right off the bat, you get a My Learners tab, which shows you the people inside of your organization. And this is where the tags come into play. If I've segregated or divided people up based on their functional role inside the organization or a department they're a part of or so on and so forth, I can use these tags to limit this list to that particular group. So if I want to see all the salespeople, I can click on sales. If I want to see the people that are tagged as engineering, I can click that, and it will shrink my list down to just those people so that I can find who I'm looking for rather quickly. And then I have the ability, if I want to go in and view that particular person, since I'm a training manager, I can change their role. If I want to promote somebody from a learner to a training manager or take them back to just being a learner, I can do that. You have the ability to set up actual departments, and this is where the segregation of management comes into play. I'll show you in a minute how you can set the departments up, but once you have departments set up, you can set training managers up over specific departments, and then the people that they'll see on these reports are just the people that are in their department. So if you have a large number of people in your organization, you can group those together and it makes it easier for people to manage. And I can also augment or alter the tags that are assigned to this individual learner. If I flip over here to enrollments, I can see everything that they're enrolled in and what their status is on those individual courses. So I can see how people are progressing on the training that I've assigned them to do. If I want to get an overview of the progress inside my organization, I can go to progress by learner. This is a report that's from a learner's perspective, so I can see each individual learner, the programs that they've signed up for, and the individual modules inside those programs, and then I can see their status. I can see whether they've passed, what their completion rate is, or their completion time is, and then the score if they've taken the final assessment inside that module. Or I can flip this around and look at things on a course-by-course basis. So this would show me a program, it would show me each individual module in that program, and then all the learners inside of that particular module. So I can see their scores grouped together and see how they're doing on particular modules. Again, I have the ability to limit things by the tags by just clicking on the tags that are aggregated up here at the top. The My Network report shows you your supply chain network, and it shows you the overall progress within that supply chain. So when I first click on this screen, or this tab, it will show me everyone who is designated as a Tier 1 in my from my perspective. So these are my suppliers that supply me directly. And you see two scores over here on the right. The first score is the progress of this individual company. They're at a 50% completion rate. And the second score is how the remainder of the supply chain under them has performed. And I can click on the plus to kind of scroll this out and see the individual statistics. So in the case of Acme, that's one company because it's the top level. They have one learner inside the system. They registered for 2 courses, and they've passed one of the courses. That's what yields the 50% up here at the top. Tier 2 would be any of the suppliers below them. So they have a supplier that supplies them. That company has 3 learners in it. They've had 3 registrations with 1 pass, so that's what gives me the 33%. And you'll notice that Tier 2 and below, and this will go as deep as the supply chain goes, those results are all in aggregate. I don't see anything specific about the supply chain below my Tier 1 because we want to protect the integrity of the supply chain. And so if there were 5 companies feeding into Acme Widgets, you would see a 5 here, total number of learners, registrations, and pass, and then it would roll up into this number. And I can open up the supply chain for each one of these and see how things are going. Being on a demo system here, I don't have data very deep, but I just wanted to give you a feel of how this will start to roll up. This is presented from the point of view of a specific program of training. So this is for the REACH program. If I wanted to see how Conflict Minerals was doing, I could switch over to Conflict Minerals, and I could see, again, the same supply chain, but in this particular case, nobody has signed up for Conflict Minerals in my environment here. So you have the ability to switch between programs, and as more programs come online, they'll populate that drop-down automatically. My Upstream shows me what companies I'm reporting my information to. So if I'm a supplier, I can see who is upstream from me. So in this particular case, I'm reporting my scores up to AEM. But if there are any additional companies I was reporting up to, I could do that here. And one of the things I'm adding to this in the very near future is the ability for you to specify what scores you're interested in reporting up. So if you want to report REACH up, but you don't want to report Conflict Minerals or any of that sort of thing, you can be specific about what you're reporting to who. By default, everything will be reported up. But again, it's anonymized. You don't see individual learners inside of a supplier's organization. You just see the aggregate result of them taking the training. If there's somebody that I supply that I want to report my scores to, Remember, I can do that on the Invitations tab, but I also have a button here where I can send that request straight from this screen, so you don't have to navigate over there. Lastly, we have an activity log, which basically just shows you what's been going on inside your system. If a department was added, or if people were added or removed, or courses were purchased, or things of that nature, that would all show up here on the activity log, which is basically just a running commentary on your organization. Lastly is the Settings tab. This is where I can go and modify my settings. I can get there by either clicking Settings, or I can click on my name up here in the Welcome bar at the very top. This is where I can correct spelling of my name, set my time zone to whatever is appropriate for where I am geographically. I can change my password if I want to update my password to something new. If I'm a manager of the organization, then I can change the contact information for the company. I can set up departments, so I can add a department or remove a department, change who's in that department from the screen. And lastly, I have the ability to modify my billing information. And again, by default, when you create an account, you'll have the ability to supply a credit card on file to pay for the training. But if you contact us, we can set you up on terms, and then you could switch to being billed monthly, and then we'll send an invoice to your accounting department and do a typical billing arrangement, if that makes more sense. So obviously there's more details once you actually get into the system and start using it and whatnot, but that's kind of the overview of how the system works and how it's put together. We're continuing to develop and add additional features all the time, so they'll come online. And the nice thing about this is, since it all sits in the cloud, there's nothing for you to install or any updates you have to make. It's just every time you come to the system, you're running the latest and greatest. So at this point, Lydia, if there's anything I missed or if there's any questions, we can answer those now.
Thank you, Steve. I think, and I know we've talked about this, and some of the individuals on the call might have, I might have communicated this to them as well, but the easiest way to just use the system is just to go in and play around, and then we have our executive awareness on Reach at no cost. So you can go in there, invite internal learners, and just see how it works. And then as questions come up, if they do, feel free to email them my way, and we'll get those taken care of.
And like Lydia mentioned, we're running a deal right now where the executive awareness course is free. And actually, when you create your account in the system, we go ahead and drop that into your account. You don't even have to find it and purchase it. It will already be on your My Courses tab, and you can go ahead and take that. And the executive awareness program is a brief overview of the REACH program and what the other modules will cover and whatnot. And so it's a good starting point to get your organization kind of up to speed on what the REACH program is all about.